Good morning and welcome to another edition of Spoken Voices. We're glad that you can join us this evening, and we hope that everyone is okay and everyone is doing fine. Like we always say, we're glad to have you join us here, and we hope that everyone's doing well in this COVID thing that we're trying to get rid of. Take precautions, take care of yourselves, and take care of everybody around you. At Spoken Voices, you know, we like to do a lot of stuff that is diverse. We like to bring more information into the community, and we like to give everyone a chance to voice, you know, their special talents. Today is really special because we have two people from the rich port, Puerto Rico, and they're going to explain to us about the history and what Bomba, did I say that right?
Yes, you said perfectly.
Right, is all about, right? Very important to me because it has lineage and a link to all of our ancestors, and they will explain more about this. So, and this is what I'm going to do today, something I normally don't do. I'm going to hand the reins over to the producer extraordinaire
and director. Spoken Voices.
And who are you?
Maribel Ramos Brooks.
All right. I'm going to give you the floor, darling. You know.
Thank you so much.
All right.
We have two special guests from Puerto Rico, Ms. Cepeda, Tata Cepeda, and then we also have Barbara Liz. So I'm going to give the floor to Miss Barbara and have her introduce herself to our show.
Hi, Maribel and Nathaniel. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. It's such a great honor. I thank you for inviting my mom and myself to the show. We are so excited to share our culture with everybody. And like you said, my name is Barbara Liz. I currently live in Kissimmee, Florida. We have the dance school, Escuela de Bomba y Plena Tata Cepeda. I named it after my mom because I wanted to honor her while she is still alive. Many times we wait until a death happens or a very bad situation happens where after that we want to honor somebody. So I wanted to make it very different. And so I named my school after my mom so that she would feel even more proud than what she is. And with that, I leave you my mom, Tata Cepeda.
Saludos y gracias por la invitación. Mi nombre es Tata Cepeda, mamá de Bárbara Liz. Agradecemos la invitación, como menciono, y estamos aquí para seguir llevando la gesta de la bomba y la plena puertorriqueña, como se nos fue enseñada desde el amor.
I'm glad you guys could be here.
Qué bueno que usted está con nosotros. Quería saber si me puede explicar un poquito más del señor Rafael, que es tu abuelo, ¿no? ¿Me puede explicar un poquito más de él? Porque yo, sinceramente, no sé quién es.
Ok, Rafael Cepeda fue considerado el patriarca de la bomba y de la plena porque él se dedicó a preservar estos géneros que estuvieron en peligro de extinción, estuvieron en peligro de morir. Así que él se dio a la tarea de seguir estudiando, investigando y conociendo de estos géneros que a su vez venía de tradición familiar y seguirlo llevando a diferentes partes no solamente de aquí de la isla de Puerto Rico, sino que entonces luego comenzó a llevarlo a diferentes partes del mundo también. Así que en 1983 a él lo reconocieron en el Endowment for the Arts en Washington y incluso dejó unos instrumentos de tambores en el museo para seguir preservando y seguir llevando esto, ¿verdad?, al sitial que se merece. Así que nosotros, su familia, seguimos llevando este legado con mucho orgullo, pero con mucha responsabilidad. Y de igual manera que él lo hizo, pues nosotros continuamos esa gesta, cogimos ese batón, esa responsabilidad para continuar esa gran labor que él también hizo y llevarlo a las generaciones. Y nos enorgullece, como dijo Bárbara, que llevamos ya 8 generaciones ininterrumpidas haciendo esta labor, que nos enorgullece, pero sobre todo, ¿verdad? No deja de ser una gran responsabilidad. Pero mi abuelo tuvo muchas inquietudes y tuvo una forma de llevar esto a la comunidad desde el amor, igual como se nos enseñó a nosotros en el hogar. Y tenía una peculiaridad que, por ejemplo, si él veía a alguien en la comunidad en peligro de caer en malos pasos como en las drogas, él acercaba a esa persona, le decía, ay, vente para que aprenda, vente para que aprendas a cantar, a bailar, a tocar. Y era la forma de él aportar a la comunidad también. Así que la bomba tiene muchas cosas bien positivas, porque según lo fue para nuestros negros que fueron esclavizados, y sirvió de bálsamo, sirvió de aliciente para ellos, por lo menos ese ratito en la semana, olvidarse del sufrimiento, de ser maltratados, latigados, ultrajados y tantas cosas feas, porque hubo un genocidio en cuanto a la negritud. Pues hoy en día también sufrimos, hoy en día tenemos leyes que nos cohíben de ciertas cosas, pero sufrimos también, así que hoy en día también es un aliciente para sentirnos bien y poder expresar lo que sentimos bailando, cantando o tocando los tambores de bomba. Así que el legado de Rafael Cepeda sigue vivo y de doña Caridad Brenes, ¿verdad? Sigue vivo en nosotros y seguimos llevando esto desde el amor.
Qué bueno, eso es tú dijiste algo que es muy importante, porque a veces cuando yo enseño baile, pero yo hablo con las mujeres que están en shelter y le hablo de la historia mía. Yo he sido eso muchos años y hablo de baile de salsa y mi historia de niña. Y algo que me encantó lo que tú dijiste, que Don Rafael quiere ayudar a una vida, quiere enseñar la gente que podemos vivir, pero no en las cosas malas que está pasando nosotros, sino vamos a aprender algo diferente para sacar todas las cosas que nosotros estamos sufriendo y poner la música, porque como Dios es tan gran y tan poderoso, Él ha dado a nosotros la música, porque la música para mí salva vida y eso es algo maravilloso. Ok, Liz, Barbara.
Yes.
Hey, Barbara,
Yes.
this is something that I want people to understand too. And I want them to understand it, where this art form comes from, right? Because it's always been fascinating. Excuse me. It's always been fascinating to me. And me and Maribel talk about this all the time. The fascination in me, how this music went up from Puerto Rico to Cuba to Dominican Republic, and even in a form in Haiti, and then through South America, and then into North America, into the Americas up here, right? Because I was always taught from my grandparents and stuff about how that was a form of communication for us, because we weren't allowed to really speak. And if you can give us a little bit of history behind Bomba, right? And why it's so important for us to know, because it's a part of our history.
Thank you for the question. I was waiting for something like that because recently we have been working on the DNA of our family, and we've learned many things. One of the things that I would like to share is that we recently were watching the documentary from Samuel L. Jackson, Enslaved. And it just happens to be that I was telling my mom for weeks now, I want to watch that documentary. I want to watch it. There's just the picture of the cover is just like the ocean and a man, or a hand coming out of the ocean. And it was intriguing to see and to learn what was behind that documentary. So I left that aside because our schedule is like very busy and tight right now. And so we kept on working on several of our projects. One of them being the DNA of our patriarch line, the paternal line. We last year did the maternal line with African ancestry, and it went to Sierra Leone, Africa.
West Africa, yeah.
Yes, and then we wanted to do the same thing with the paternal line. We wanted to see where our roots are from. Where is it that we come from? We can't do and we can't share, we can't teach if we don't know who we are.
Exactly.
What does it mean? And there's a lot of misconceptions within the Puerto Rican community when you are constantly asked, who are you? What are Puerto Ricans? What does that entail? And the same conversation starts. Puerto Ricans are made of African, Spaniard, and Indio Taino. And it's the same conversation every single time, just those three. But there's so much more to that. Because when you just mention Africa, Africa's a continent. So you cannot just say Africa. Okay, so where in Africa? Because you're talking about a continent, a very big place compared to a tiny island like Puerto Rico. So we did the ancestry DNA for the paternal line, and it went all the way back to Gabon. When we finalized that, we just shared our Facebook Live on that African ancestry, all the information about the paternal line, and it was just like a weight off our shoulders. I had a minute or two to watch Enslaved. And I watched the first 2 episodes out of 4. And it just so happens to be that Samuel L. Jackson's line went all the way back to Gabon. So it was like, oh my God, I felt like somebody was calling me to watch that documentary. It was like, my ancestors are here. They're telling me you need to learn more about your history, about your story. And to see, learn, hear all the projects, all the history that they have, we are talking that the paternal line for the Familia Cepeda, we have Fang and Benga people. Benga people are one of the most highly spiritual people on earth. And we have that in our family. That is also Bomba. Bomba is where you find your senses and you get to express them. When we think about all of those people, all of those enslaved people, human beings that were taken by the force and taken and put on those ships and beat to death. They were hung, they were shackled, babies were taken away from them, families torn apart. All the suffering that they went through, they had to have expressed that in some other way. Many did make it to other places, many didn't. So that documentary speaks more about the ones that didn't. And that is something that we need to speak more of, because we highly focused on the ones that did make it. And and it's fine because we learn from both sides. But when we talk about Puerto Ricans as Africans, you have to think, okay, we're talking about another continent. We're talking about when you take those people from Africa, whichever part of Africa, Do you think those ships will last all the way to Puerto Rico without getting gas, food, whatever is, goods, whatever they need? No,
Mhm.
they had to stop somewhere else.
Right.
And there comes the transatlantic slavery trade.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for example, some people were taken from Ghana and they stopped in Haiti. There was some slave trade right there. So
Right.
some people, some enslaved people that were already in Haiti that were previously from maybe another part of Africa, those were the ones, some of them brought to Puerto Rico. So
Mhm.
now we're not talking just Africa. Now we're talking many different tribes of Africa.
Right.
And those that acquired the culture of Haiti now were brought to Puerto Rico. So we're talking about millions and millions of people that came with different cultures.
Mhm.
Once they get to Puerto Rico, that's where Bomba is created because they needed to be able to communicate with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We know we have a very good friend, two very good friends here in Orlando. One of them is Tobos Lubamba. He's from El Congo. And we just recently did an activity with him. And the other one is Bayo, and Bayo is from Nigeria.
Mm.
Bayo brings a lot of culture with his dances and Tobos with his music. And when we hear them speak, sometimes they don't have the same dialects.
Right.
Congo has over 700 dialects. Nigeria has over 500. So there's about 200 that they don't know how to communicate because they don't know it. So in learning that, it's like Africa is humongous.
Mm-hmm.
We have to learn more about that. We have to be receptive to it as well. We have to also be receptive that if you think you're light skinned, doesn't mean you don't have any black in you.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's the fact. And that's where all of the problems that we have in society come in place.
And I think that's it. I've always said I think that's that's an America's problem. That's what we've created over here and on the islands too. There's color. There's this color thing and whatnot. But I always think from even what you've said is that there's a connection between us. And I was talking to our kids and Maribel, and I was telling them, isn't it sad though that from all the islands to up through the Americas and to America, we're the only group of people, right, who don't have solid history. We have to basically search for, and we'll probably never really learn our language, right? Because me as an American Black person, I speak American, I speak English, but that's not my language historically.
Yes.
And you guys speak Spanish, right? But that's not your language historically. And we're always searching. And when we find something like Bomba, right? It should galvanize all the people with the African DNA, but it doesn't because a lot of people choose to deny it, right? Which separates us. We can't get together. And I always said, can you imagine the power that we would possess politically, right? Socially, if we would stop fighting one another because of the pigmentation of our skin and the fact that I speak English, you speak Spanish, we are family, regardless. And I said, something like this brings us together. And I really appreciate you guys doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to say this. And I'm going to say this without getting emotional because I am a very.
She's going to get emotional.
We're emotional too.
I grew up listening to Bomba, but the sad thing is, my parents, or the family that I grew up in, they never, like, unless I wasn't listening. But again, there's a history behind my story. But why isn't that not too many parents are teaching children about their culture? About where they came from. I had to actually dig into my past to figure out, okay, where did I learn this? Where did I learn Bomba from? And why is it that when I hear it, my body naturally it flows. it dances, and I don't understand. I couldn't understand why am I feeling this way, that when I dance bomba, I'm not dancing for the people. I'm dancing, expressing my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, but I'm also dancing in front of the drummer because I'm communicating with that person. I'm not communicating with nobody else. So I don't understand how in the world did I learn those things? But again, I had to dig information because Dalita said I had to learn this at the age of 40 and then try to teach my kids where they came from so that they can understand, hey, hold up, back up. We're all mixed in here. We have to learn the history. So yeah, it's sad that not too many parents teach this to our kids. But then of course I had to learn they all had their struggles and they all had things that they had to fight against, because again, I didn't know my parents' history. I had to dig in and find out more about it. And especially, it's sad, that we don't teach that. And it's only a little Puerto Ricans, I would say some of us. I'm not gonna, I hope I don't offend anybody, but we're a bunch of ignorant people because we're not really embracing our history. And if we talk about it, I noticed that when I had a very good friend of mine who took me for the very first time. I didn't know that there was a place where they play bomba in Manhattan. And I appreciate him because he took me there and it kind of opened me up. And I said, oh my God, I just remember my childhood. And it's sad, and not to prolong this conversation, pero bomba es algo que nosotros tenemos que abrir. We need to open it up, but we need to be careful because some of us, algunos los bailes, está bailando en una forma que yo estaba muy confusa y I couldn't understand, wait, that's not the way we dance. We gotta be careful with that, because I was offended and I don't know why I felt like that. Yo me sentía ofendida, no sé por qué, porque la emoción que yo tenía es, espérate, eso no es el baile que mi papá me enseñó, or my ancestors, or, because I had aunts who also, I learned so much about. But again, I just, it's sad that many of us parents, we don't teach that. And it's sad because we need to, teach our kids about that, because if we don't, si nosotros nos enseñamos a los niños el correcto de la bomba, lo van a aprender mal de las otras personas. No sé si lo estoy haciendo correcto, pero para decirte la verdad, tenemos que aprenderlo, tenemos que enseñar a la gente para que ellos sepan que es verdadera es la bomba.
But there's nobody else, Bob. There's no one else out there. No one has really ever got out there who is on camera, on film, to say, let's do something about our history.
Well, that's why we got these girls.
Exactly.
To help us, teach us.
Thank you, because
and I'm going to put it all out there.
I truly feel that it's more profitable, right? And I hate to say this, to cross over, to be nondescript, right? I'm just a human being type of thing, and that could blend into society, right? Instead of saying, I am very proud of who I am. We have the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York City. We have Little Italy in New York City, right? We don't have, we don't have parades for us, the people of our
We have
ancestors.
the Puerto Rican parade.
Yeah, but that's it, right?
Yes.
and most of the time they go out there and act a fool to young kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
If
And
you
it's good that you're saying that, because Puerto Ricans are very prideful. Siempre estamos llenos de orgullo. And you take out the Puerto Rican flag anywhere and somebody's like, oh, that's my flag. I'm so proud of it. Yep, that's where I'm from.
Right.
Yo soy de ahí aunque naciera en la luna. But we don't know our history. So
because that's not
one
only
and not the other.
Right, because that's not only where we're from. That's like me waving the American flag, right? And going, I'm so proud of my country. Oh man. No, first of all, it's a piece of cloth. It means nothing. It's a little spot on the face of the earth, right? I happen to be born here, right? I am not really, I'm not American. I am a human being first and foremost. But my history is rich, right? And it goes back centuries. And I am not from one place, which is pride to me. And I think it should be pride for all of us to know that we're not, you know, we're not Spaniards, we're not Englishmen, we're not anything. We're a lot of everything, and which makes us what? Unique.
That is right.
But we don't take that uniqueness and feel pride about it. Not bad pride, you know, not bad pride, but pride in who we are. And if we as a people do that, we can raise our children up to be able to look at themselves in the mirror. When they look at themselves in the mirror, whether they have long straight hair or kinky little hair, and brown or blanco or whatever, and they can have pride in who they are because they know who they are.
And that starts from the house, from the home, and from school.
That's right.
So the other thing that I wanted to say is that if we don't, a saying that my mom says in Spanish is, si tú no conoces tu historia, estás condenado a repetirla.
Yes,
If you don't know your history, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
So you need to learn your history. So we had another project when the pandemic started, where we started doing book studies about the history of Puerto Rico. And there we have, these were free activities. This was a project that I wanted to do with my mom, where we kept on being united as a community. And at the same time, we would be learning about our history while everybody was so focused on COVID and being inside their homes and trying to escape the effects of COVID, of being all the time at home, of not being able to go out, of having to wear your mask every time that you go out, not share time with your family and friends as you did before. So in those book studies, we did 4 books. In those books, we learned history that we didn't learn about in elementary, middle, or high school, not even in college. We didn't learn that. And the departments of education of every single place in this planet needs to have more education for children, starting in kindergarten and pre-K, about the history. Because I remember when I was in high school in Puerto Rico, the history that I was taught was American history. I had to learn every single one of their states and their capitals, but I didn't live in the United States. I lived in Puerto Rico. So why was I not taught more about my history, so that when I go somewhere else, I would be able to speak more about the history that pertains to me and my ancestors? Because like you said, we're not just from that place. We got to that place.
That's right.
But
And that's what makes us unique, though. That's what makes us unique. We're some of the most unique people in the world. Again, and I think one of the most unique things, again, is that we speak a language that's not our own, right? And sometimes we're proudful of it, you know, especially over here in America, right? You know,
Yes.
someone hears you speaking Spanish, right? Speak English, you're here.
Yes, you're in America, speak English. No,
Yeah.
I wish somebody would say that. I'm just waiting for the moment, because the thing is, like when my mom comes here and visits me, she visits me maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And sometimes ella viene pa Orlando and she's like, or my family, oh, but I don't know a lot of English. So you speak your language.
Right.
That's unique to you. And here nowadays, people, the majority is not the majority anymore. The minority, Hispanics, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, Colombians, Venezuelans, those are the majority right now.
Right.
They're not the minority anymore. So I would tell my mom, no te sientas como que, you know, you can try, because I'm not taking away that you can't learn another language either. You know, I would like to learn more languages, but you need to feel comfortable in your own skin.
Of course.
And I know mommy is dying to speak about the dances.
Okay.
I know she's like, ella está,
We
like
did.
when you spoke about in New York, there's nothing else, just the Puerto Rican parade, and you people are acting foolish, and or that when you see the bomba dances, but they're not being done correctly, or you're mixing, and I'm talking, read between the lines, and I'm talking about people mixing other things into bomba.
Yes. Mhm.
So I know my mom has a lot to say about that.
Before you go there, I want to talk about, I know it's going to be left field, suicide. I truly believe that if people learn about the history, I think that it can save a person's life, because there's so many people that are committing suicide. And I hear this all the time. And I have a voice because I tried to commit suicide when I was young. And when I finally learned, because I was afraid to go, but my father took me to Puerto Rico, and I saw my cousin. My cousin was as dark as this cup. Okay. So it changed my mind. I wanted to say, wait, hold up, wait. It just kind of like this dark thing that I had in my mind, it was gone. I said, okay, wait, I forgot. Yeah, I got friends. I have family in Puerto Rico. So my father took me to Puerto Rico and introduced me to my cousin. And it just, like, my mind just shifted and it changed. And ever since then, I wanted to know more. I wanted to find out more about the history. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe if we keep our mind differently, as far as, okay, let me study my history. Why am I feeling this way? Let me find out. Let me go back to my history. I don't know if I'm making any sense, people,
Yes,
but it did help me. It did save my life. And again, it's a story I will share with you later. But yes, it's Bomba is so important, and we need to study it, we need to learn it, and we need parents, whoever's listening, please go back to your history. Please find out about your childhood. I always say this. We need to study our childhood, because if we study our childhood, we help our new generations. And so if we do that, we can save our children. We can help these children. Sadly to say, there's too many of us. There's some of us who are in darkness right now. Our mind is like, you're in this bubble and you can't escape it because this is all I know. But if we study the music, it can help us. It can reshape our minds, Okay, enough. Vamos a hacer el mate de la
Interrupt you
bomba.
right there. When you talk about the different skins, look at this picture that I'm gonna put behind me.
Yes.
That is my mom. I'm gonna step away. That's my mom with all of her kids.
Oh
Beautiful.
man, beautiful.
So you
So
can
many
see
different
the
cultures.
difference,
Mhm.
the differences in skin tones.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And that is without my newly born son, 5 years right now,
No.
that is just like his uncle up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so the color of the skin,
This whole world, we
Go
have
sit
so
down.
many beautiful, colors. I mean, we're all just beautiful, different color people. I tell you, if we can just do one simple thing, just one simple thing, and that includes our own family, because our own family could be our worst enemies. Just have love. Just have love. That's all we need to be able to forgive ourselves. And we don't do it to please them. We do it because this is who God is. We need to love ourselves. We need to look at each other, look out for each other, support each other.
But that picture was the epitome of what and I always say us. That's the epitome of who we are.
Yeah.
My family looks the same way, right? It's the epitome of who we are. And if you can't look at a picture like that, whether you're Black American, Puerto Rican, Dominican, and I would say Cuban, but they're on their own thing.
Hey.
But the thing is, if you can't look at that and realize that, wait a minute, this family from Puerto Rico looks just like mine. It looks just
Can I
like my
ask?
family. You know?
Let's see. This sister of mine right here,
Mhm.
wait, this one, when she was born, my mom and I, we lived in New York at that time.
Okay.
And my mom can tell you the story. This is, échate para acá. This, ven, so that they can see you for a minute.
Oh, wait a minute. There's a person down there.
Yes, that's my son.
Uh-huh.
And oh, there you go. You see?
Look at that face. What's up, man?
White, brown,
Oh,
Ain't he cute?
so
and
sweet.
cute. And my mom can tell you the stories more, mil veces, 1,000 times. They would say, "Are you babysitting that child?"
I've heard
And
that.
my mom
before.
would be like, "No,
Yeah.
this is my child."
We trust me, my mother, well, my first marriage, my first husband,
Your mother-in-law.
my mother-in-law was such a beautiful, beautiful black woman,
Mhm.
beautiful black woman. And my husband, my ex-husband, when he was a baby, he was pure white with green eyes. And so they were gonna arrest her because she was spanking the baby. She said, "This is my child." So it's amazing what we all go through, what we all suffer. It's sad
Yeah,
how
'cause
people can just judge you
yeah, because her
because her skin was dark.
she was a little bit darker than me. Yeah, but she's Puerto Rican.
We all go through
Yeah.
that. It's sad. It's sad. Okay.
And we lived in Far Rockaway, so mommy can talk a little bit more about that.
You
Mami,
live in
habla un
Far
poquito
Rockaway?
de
Oh
Far
my
Rockaway.
God.
That's where we used to live. I went to PS 105 Bay School
Wow.
in Far Rockaway,
En Queens.
In
Queens.
Queens, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pues vivíamos en un área donde había, ¿verdad? Los que vivían ahí, por lo general, eran personas de piel bien oscura, morenos americanos, y me decían eso cada vez que me veían con mi niña. Me decían, "Are you babysitting her?" Yo, "No, that's my daughter." "Ah, are you kidding me?" Yo, "No, that's my daughter." Y eso era, pero muchas veces que me pasó porque ella era bien blanca, bien, bueno, nosotros en la familia le decíamos Casper,
Oh,
I know.
pero la gente se resiente cuando ve eso,
yeah.
ver una persona negra teniendo una persona más clara. Y hay algo bien importante, quiero ir un poquito hacia atrás también, pero no hay tal pureza de la gente blanca, blanca o la gente negra, negra. Y quiero mencionar, por ejemplo, ahorita estamos hablando de la bandera o las banderas, puede ser la bandera puertorriqueña, la americana, whatever bandera de cualquier país.
Black.
Nuestra historia va mucho más atrás que cualquier bandera. Porque el mundo comenzó desde antes que existiera una bandera. Y a mí me parece que la primera bandera que pudo haber existido fue un paño blanco
Yeah, the first
de
one was
paz.
white,
Mhm.
black.
It was.
Así que nosotros debemos de antes de sacar una bandera, pensar lo que estaba diciendo mi hija Bárbara, o sea, vamos a ir primero a la historia y después saco la bandera para sentirme orgulloso, orgullosa de esa bandera, porque sé lo que hay detrás de esa bandera, el sufrimiento que hay detrás de esa bandera, el amor que hay detrás de esa bandera, porque como decía mis abuelos, yo no puedo querer lo que yo no conozco.
You can't love what you don't know.
That's right. That is
Yo
absolutely.
tengo que conocer
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
primero mi historia, mis ancestros y lo que ellos pasaron
But they went
para yo seguir ese legado con honor y con respeto. Así que tenemos que conocer nuestra historia, tenemos que seguir luchando por esa historia. Ahora mismo seguimos escuchando y viendo esas guerras entre blancos y negros.
too much love.
Pero yo me pregunto,
Mm-hmm.
hoy, ¿por qué los blancos se molestan si fueron ellos los que nos sacaron de África? Fueron ellos los que nos mezclaron.
Mm-hmm.
¿Por qué se molestan que nosotros nos apoderemos del mundo al que ellos nos sometieron.
Can you translate that to my husband? Because I'm getting so emotional.
To the audience too.
Bárbara.
So my mom is saying, why is it that white people get upset or get angry that we are trying to do ourselves to resist and to really feel what's happening around us in our environment right now, in our communities?
Mhm.
Why do they get upset when we're trying to rise when they were the ones who took us in the first place out of our native land?
That's what I thought she said. I caught some of it. My question, I want to ask both of y'all this, right? And you asked mom in Spanish, but she may understand what I'm saying. Why do we tend to want to assimilate ourselves so much on our European side? Some of us, where we want to ignore the other side of us, the Taino, the African, and whatever else. But why do we want to be, I always laugh at my wife, I tell her that, you know, being a conquistador, right? Or being an English nobleman, right? Is not the great, if you look at their history, it's not the greatest thing to be. It's not because the colonizers, they did some horrible things to our people, horrible things and whatnot. By the grace of God, our ancestors, because we're talking today, survived in actuality. But why do y'all think that it's so, for some Latinos, for some Blacks, why is it always so important to really embrace first the European side of our culture?
Why is it so important to embrace it? Because sometimes it's more despicable.
Mm-hmm.
that we tend to learn more about it or try, like, so I'm going to give you an example. We are planning a trip to Spain in the summer, and my mom has always liked to dance flamenco, and so she's very excited. And at the same time, I'm only thinking, okay, I'm going to a certain part in Spain so that I can cross over to Africa in the ferry and then come back.
I think I'll be right behind you.
Yes. So when I did my DNA, the other DNA, where it gives you the percentages of what you have, it said like 24% from Spain, 22% Portugal, and then everything else was different parts of Africa.
Yeah.
2% Jewish. So when I saw 2% Jewish, I was like, okay, what happened here? And that's when I learned that there is a lot of Jewish people in Portugal. So every single time that you get, every single opportunity that you rise, you have a question, there's an answer for that question. You just have to dig through. You just have to keep learning more about your history. But going back to yours is, I would think that we talk less about the Taino Indians when we should speak more about it. And we have Taino elements in Bomba. We have La Maraca. And we know that Tainos were fearful. They were guerreros. And when we tend to learn and see the Spaniard side, it's more like colonizers.
Yeah.
You were the ones that ruined, in certain cases, my identity because of what you did to my ancestors, because what they went through. And there's a lot of resistance to that.
Yes.
And what I was going to say about the example was that we have a friend that went to Spain several times. And in one of those trips that she made to Spain, she went into one of the museums, and she told the guide that she was from Puerto Rico. And the guide told her, well, you must feel very proud of us because you are in Puerto Rico because of us. And her eyes like almost got out of her head, and she was like, let me tell you something. I'm gonna stop you right there. We are not proud of what you guys did. And she kept on telling that guide our story.
Right.
And then he was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Wow.
So then what history are you teaching
taught.
your people in Spain about Puerto Ricans?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of misconception.
Yeah, there
But
is.
again, we won't know. You don't get to learn more if you don't decide to learn and dig more. You cannot keep repeating the same thing because that's just speaking like this.
Exactly.
You're
I
not actually learning and portraying and teaching the truth.
The truth.
Mhm.
The truth.
Let's give the next one. We got 10 minutes.
Right about. Mhm.
Let's just let mom have the last word because I want to know about the dance.
A question for you. Is there any way that we need to film the actual?
Yeah, we're going to talk about.
We're gonna talk about it? Okay,
We're
that's
going
like-
to do
all right,
that later.
all
I'm
right.
not putting that out there. People,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know, that's later.
All right.
But mami, por favor, te voy a dar los 10 minutos para ti. Hablar del baile bomba.
Ok, pues ahorita mencionaron sobre la cuestión de la mezcla y de cómo se baila la bomba. Nuestros negros que fueron traídos, ¿verdad?, aquí a la isla en contra de su voluntad, siempre mencionamos que ellos trajeron una maleta imaginaria, porque ellos vinieron en su mayoría desnudos, encadenados. Y como dijo Bárbara, o sea, África es un continente, vinieron de diferentes partes de ese continente. Así que trajeron esa maleta imaginaria llena de sus costumbres de cómo cocinar, de cómo vestir y preparar su ropa, de cómo cantar, de cómo hablar, de cómo bailar. Así que se transcultura todo eso según van pasando los años y según ellos fueron siendo liberados. Ellos se reunían estando aún esclavizados para hacer su música, pero como eran de diferentes partes del continente, eso se va transculturando, se va uniendo, se va entrelazando y va creando otro baile muy diferente a lo que ellos hacían en su tierra. Cuando eso, ¿verdad? La historia va transcurriendo y van pasando los años, van llegando otras culturas, que es lo que estaba mencionando Bárbara ahorita, que no solamente entonces eran los españoles, los indios y los africanos, sino también los ingleses, los franceses, los holandeses. Y eso sigue aumentando y es como tú poner, ¿verdad? Como cuando vas a hacer una batida, que tú le echas leche, le echas vainilla, le echas guineo, fresa y le echas otro montón de frutas y lo echas en un osterizer y lo mezclas. El sabor es rico, pero es porque tiene mucho ADN de diferentes partes del mundo. Y eso pasó con la bomba, eso pasó con el baile de bomba. Por ejemplo, según tenemos conocimiento, aquí muchos años se estuvo cantando la bomba en creol. Pero según siguió pasando el tiempo, eso se fue, ¿verdad? La gente que sabía ese idioma se perdió y se continuó cantando en español. Pero, ¿verdad? Voy back and forth porque hay unas cosas que aún tenemos, hay unas cosas que perdimos y hay unas cosas que vamos dentro de esas investigaciones que se siguen haciendo y de esos estudios que continuamos buscando para seguir aprendiendo, porque la bomba es un mundo de aprendizaje. Nos vamos a morir y no vamos a encontrar el fin de ese aprendizaje porque seguimos aprendiendo. Así que vamos buscando y seguimos buscando esa información para continuar aprendiendo. Y nos damos cuenta que no solamente fue un bálsamo para nuestros negros, sino que cuando toda esa mezcla de culturas se une, se le llama bomba. Y en África hay un ritmo que se llama bomba. A los tambores se les llama bombas, barriles. De ahí es que viene el nombre del género, bomba. Al principio de que se considera ya bomba, la primera música de nosotros y primer periódico cantado de nosotros como puertorriqueños, la mujer no bailaba. Porque una de las cosas aprendidas del blanco español fue el no respetar a la mujer, el no dar valor a la mujer. Ese machismo lo aprendimos de ahí. Así que la mujer no bailaba, se le cuarteaba y solamente la mujer era un adorno para el caballero al momento de bailar bomba. Pero en el caso de mi abuela, doña Caridad Brenes de Cepeda, por lo que puse yo el nombre a mi escuela, lleva el nombre de ella, fue una de las pioneras que también provenía de una familia de bailadoras. Y ella se soltó el moño después de haber tenido 12 hijos,
Wow.
que todos cantaban, bailaban, tocaban. Y dijo, si yo soy paridora de bailadores y tocadores y cantadores, yo voy a bailar y voy a bailar agresivamente. Así que doña Cari se suelta el moño y comienza a bailar agresivamente y marcó un precedente. Y de ahí en adelante muchas damas imitaron y siguieron emulando ese, ¿verdad? Ese ejemplo. Y muchas bailadoras hoy en día hay más bailadoras que bailadores.
¿Qué año fue eso? Si te puede preguntar.
Yo no puedo recordar así bien, pero mi abuela, después de haber, creo que como es 50 y algo,
Okay.
50 y, que fue el último hijo que ella tuvo, fue en el 50 y algo.
Okay. I'll explain to you later.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wow.
Pero es bien interesante porque esto también, por lo menos eso, ¿verdad? Que pasó en mi familia es lo mismo que pasa en la historia. Se sigue transculturando y por eso debemos ser bien responsables en lo que hacemos. No solamente de estudiarlo y de conocerlo. Porque antes de yo coger una bandera y agitarla y decir, yo soy boricua, para que tú lo sepas. Yo soy boricua y, y explícame. Háblame de tu historia. Porque yo, por ejemplo, puedo decir que yo de niña era muy tímida, bien tímida. Yo no tenía amistades en la escuela. Y lo que me ayudó a yo poder hablar y estar de frente de ustedes expresándome, fue la bomba.
Yeah.
La bomba me obligó a que yo tenía que hablar y decirte y explicarte. Gracias a la bomba yo estoy aquí hablando con ustedes. Si no, a lo mejor yo estaría como muda, porque no hablaba. Y asimismo la bomba ayuda a muchas personas que son tímidas, muchas personas que no se sienten seguras de sí mismos, que no se atreven a hacer un sinnúmero de cosas y no solamente ¿verdad? en su rol cotidiano, sino a cómo yo me voy a expresar frente a ese tambor. Porque yo me voy a expresar mi sentimiento de alegría, porque ya sea tuve un hijo o un sobrino o estoy enamorada, sino también si tengo dolor, si tengo tristeza, si tengo coraje. Y para todo eso hay diferentes canciones en la bomba con las cuales uno se va identificando. Asimismo también los diferentes ritmos que tiene la bomba. Y por ejemplo, hay un ritmo que se llama yuba y hay varios ritmos dentro de esta familia de yuba, que es el ritmo más sentimental, uno de los más sentimentales que tiene la bomba. Y por ejemplo, hay una canción que dice colonia, colonia, lleva la caña al ingenio. Colonia, colonia, lleva la caña al ingenio. No dejes morir de hambre a los pobres jornaleros que reciben sus salarios y la caña está moliendo. Colonia, colonia, lleva la caña al ingenio. Colonia, colonia, lleva la caña al ingenio. Eso es una canción lamento y está hablando, pues eso, la colonia es donde llevaban a los negros a trabajar al corte de caña, porque de ahí sacaban el azúcar, el guarapo, y todo para nuestros negros era todo trabajo, trabajo, trabajo. Y ellos se la ingeniaron para cantar mientras cortaban la caña, expresaban su dolor. Colonia, colonia, lleva la caña al ingenio. Colonia, colonia, lleva la caña al ingenio. Así que hay mucha alegría, pero también hay mucho dolor que encierra nuestra bomba. Hay mucha rabia, pero mucha resistencia. Y es la misma resistencia que hoy nos mantiene de pie a todo ser humano, porque todos hemos sufrido, porque todos en el mundo hemos sufrido, no solamente, ¿verdad?, el racismo, la esclavitud. Somos resistentes, somos resilientes día a día, porque hemos sufrido mucho. Así que yo entiendo que debemos de aprender de nuestra bomba, debemos de conocer, porque esto es una parte bien importante de nuestra historia, porque es que el que no conoce su historia está condenado a repetirla. Y debemos luchar y debemos estar en esa batalla constante.
Me diste una idea, vamos a hablar de algo después de esta entrevista, pero tenemos que terminar porque ya son casi una hora, pero seguimos hablando. Eva cerrar el show, so déjele que él, mi esposo, cierra el show y seguimos hablando, si quieren hablar más. So I need you to close the show.
I need you to close the show. This is your.
This
was your show.
But you're
you
the
say
host.
everything. I will say what I'm going to say, and you're going to repeat it in Spanish.
I'll try.
All right.
Man, I'm going to try.
We want to thank you guys for being here. I mean, it's so important for us. You know, it's really important for me to bring us together. You know, because what do they say? If you take all your fingers and ball them up, it makes a powerful fist. And I think that's what we need to do in our culture, is to get our kids to understand who we are, to make their kids even stronger than they were.
And I will also want to say that the most powerful thing that anyone can do is to change your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
If you change your mindset, oh boy, can you just...
Hakuna Matata.
I like that. That used to be my favorite show.
The movie.
All right, close the show, honey.
Okay. We'd like to thank everybody for joining us here on Spoken Voices. And as we always say, man makes plans, God smiles. Hope everyone is fine. Hope everyone is doing well. We'll see you again on Spoken Voices.
Anyway.